What an episode. Am I right? Now, before we get into this, guys, I do want to say there are going to be a lot of spoilers. A ton of spoilers if you have not watched the episode. So, I know it's kind of redundant to say that when this is an episode review, but some people do these without watching the episode. It's a thing. Now, I'm going to say it very clearly here. If you have not watched the episode, stop right now, go watch the episode, and then come back afterwards. Because, wow, you're going to get a lot of spoilers, especially the very ending, and I'll do another warning at the ending just in case, but oh my goodness, let's get into it, okay? So we kind of figured, obviously, Winnie's not going to get killed by Tiona. You know, they have, like, their little kind of showdown here, so to speak, when he's just kind of like running down corridors and ducking Tiona. And it's really interesting because eventually, kind of, they even have a flashback to it of the little kid that was saved when the cart was toppling over. Part of one of the corridors. Man, this town is built like crap, man. This town just falls apart in a moment's notice. It's really kind of funny. But this corridor starts falling apart right above this child who Winnie stops right in front of. And she starts running. And we get another instance where she obviously has this big speed boost. You start to really see her abilities come out. And she saves the child from all the falling debris. Most of the other people around are even like, hey, that monster just attacked a kid. But Tiona, like, you even see it on her face. Like, she saw what happened. So they go running and they run down the next little alley. And Tiona, like, corners her and is like, so, did I see what I think I saw back there? Did you save a kid? And one thing leads to another, and she never speaks to her necessarily, or Winnie never speaks to Tiona necessarily, but she's allowed to escape. And what's kind of interesting about this, so Belle comes dashing out of the sky and with Haruhime, and they find Winnie. Now, it's kind of weird that it's down the same alleyway. It's kind of insinuated that, like, Winnie maybe ran a few streets over, but you don't really see it. Now, next thing you know, they have this, nice little moment together. And then you hear Bete coming down that street. And he's like, you might be able to hide, you're yourself, but you can't hide your scent. We know, like, he's a werewolf. Like, he can sniff. He has that the olfactory glands of, well, a dog, so he can sniff them out, no problems whatsoever. And Haruhime actually steps out. She steps from under the invisibility cloak and walks out and is just like blocking them, very clearly blocking the way. And like, we know, but he has zero F's given. He's just like, stomp on the ground, knocks her over, and he's like, you want a piece of this? Is this really how this is going to go down? Because you're nothing. You're like a stepping stone, if even that. And obviously I'm paraphrasing. But what's really awesome, Haruhime, and this is really like more of like a growing point for her, because she's always been in the back. Even at the beginning of the series, when they were going into the dungeons, she's been at the back. She hasn't shown a lot of courage like she's showing now. And she's really stepped up. I mean, obviously there's a lot of that motherly love between the two of them, but Haruhime is straight up like, you know what? This is happening. And she starts doing her incantation for her level boost. And this is what blew me away. Aisha literally just jumps into the basically the line between the magic and Haruhime, takes the level boost, lands on the ground, and is just like, I got this. And Bete's typical kind of his reaction. He's like, oh, you can't fight for yourself? And Aisha's like, this is my little sister. You gonna pick on her, or you gonna pick on me, Lego? And the truly, honestly unfortunate part of this, we don't see the full... Sorry, I nicked my microphone there, but I get excited. This episode really got me excited, guys. You don't see the full fight. And I get there's a limited amount of time, but man, I can't be the only one out there who really wants to see this fight. Even though we know the outcome. Later on in the episode, we see Aisha just wrecked out. Even Haruhime mentioned something like, oh, don't die on me. And Aisha's like, they ain't gonna kill me. I mean, I might be broken, but I'm down, but I ain't out. So, obviously, Bete wins the fight, needless to say. But before we get there, obviously, Belle and Wiene get to escape. And this is where we get into... Well, before we get there, the other showdown that's actually been going on this whole time, they kind of cut between these kind of three fights a little bit. The other showdown that's been going on since the last episode is Welf and Mikoto versus Gareth. I almost forgot to include this because that was really awesome. Obviously, Welf and Mikoto are kind of holding their own with the magic swords, but Gareth figures out how to counter him, and he starts smashing the magic swords. And eventually, where those two were cloaked, the cloaks are broken, and first, Mikoto is revealed, and then eventually Welf is revealed, and Gareth goes to make kind of like, his takedown maneuver. But Welf has a trump card on his hand, and he seems a little reluctant to use it. And that's when, out of nowhere, in comes Tsubaki, who we rarely see in this series. And she's just like, what are you holding back for? Do it. And she even says, like, Hephaestus sent her to make sure that this went down the way it needs to go down. That's what I love about this. This is like a mini war game. It's pretty nuts, because obviously the war game between the Apollo Familia and the Hestia Familia at the time was, not so bueno. And a lot of innocent people got injured. And this seems to be a little more subdued, obviously because the Loki Familia doesn't want to destroy the town. They're more keepers of the peace, where Apollo is just kind of like chaotic evil. But the Loki Familia isn't evil at all. Obviously, the whole goal here is to protect the city. So collateral damage is intended to be a bit low, though, there is obviously some. Case in point, the city's randomly crumbling whenever the plot needs it to. So Welf is just encouraged by Tsubaki. He pulls out his other magic sword, and he takes one swing at Gareth. And like, there's this like moment where you just see ice going everywhere. And obviously we know with Welf's level, there's no way he can defeat Gareth on that level. It's just not, there's no way whatsoever. But Gareth is frozen in a sheet of ice, and even Tsubaki's like, see? It all worked out. He ain't dead. And I was just like, I thought for a minute there he was going to bust out, because even the ice starts breaking and whatever. I was just like, this is not going to end well. But they're cool, and they escape, and they eventually meet back up with the Xenosis. We'll see later on in the episode. But now we've got the third showdown. And of course, we're talking about the inevitable showdown between Belle and Eyes. So this went down a lot differently than I kind of expected. So before that we get into this, we do know that Ryu got a level boost from Haruhime as well, and Ryu went to go fight Eyes, and Ryu got wrecked out. When Ryu with a level boost gets wrecked out, someone is super, super strong. So they've already set this up like Eyes is, for lack of a better word, Eyes is a monster. She's absolutely a brutal, like, just wall of power. And as Belle and Wiene are cloaked and walking down a street completely randomly, Eyes comes out of the darkness, and she's like, she calls out there, and she's like, calls to Wiene, and she's like, "You're there, monster, aren't you?" And that's when they uncloak themselves. And I'm sorry, Belle at a level 3, and Eyes is like a level 6 at this point, something crazy like that. Like, there's no way, absolutely no way Belle can win this. Even with a level boost, he is just absolutely outclassed. But as one can expect, he does hold his own. Eyes is obviously Belle kind of is like, look, they could talk, there's this, he's trying to rationalize with her. She's like, nope, monsters is monsters, and just starts going at him. Now, we know right here for a fact that she's holding back. Like, if she really wanted to kill him, he'd be dead. But obviously, considering the training and all that stuff, she's got some feelings involved here, even though she does kind of look stone-faced most of the time. Spoiler alert, which we'll see a little bit later. Or an exception to that, we'll see a little bit later. But she still has a lot of respect for him because, remember, she trained him. And he's progressing extremely fast. Like, she obviously respects him as an adventurer, albeit probably not terribly enthused by his decisions. There's a level of respect there. So, as they're fighting, and I want to make a little side note here, as much as I adored this fight was so good. I really felt like they I feel like the animation took a little bit of a nosedive here. Now, if you don't know how, basically a good fight scene, you're going to ramp up the frame rate and everything as people are getting ready to do moves and things like that. And this felt like basically a static 12 frames a second the whole way through. It didn't feel like, they put a lot of love into this fight. And I know I've harped on about this a little bit before, but I felt like the animation quality could have been a little bit better to show the kind of respect that this fight really demands. But neither here nor there. This fight goes on for a minute. A good minute. And eventually, Belle and Wiene do they kind of break away. Belle uses his firebolt and is able to distract Eyes long enough because obviously he's not going to blast her in the face with it. Even if he did, I don't think it would do anything. But he blasts, another corridor above them, and obviously all the debris falls and they're able to escape. So, as they're escaping, Haruhime, this is when Haruhime basically does her little goodbye to Aisha while Aisha's laying on the floor. She runs off, and heartless. And then, so Belle and Wiene kind of run into this corridor, and Belle sees almost like this light at the top of a tower, and is able to kind of surmise, this is supposed to be one of the entrances to Knossos. So he puts her in this kind of, let's call it a hallway with a barred door, and is here's everything you need. Here's the magic stone that you could talk to Hestia with. Here's everything. Go. Just go. Freedom. Have at it. And this is where the episode kind of takes a turn. So we get a little more showdown with Belle and Eyes, and they're just trading blows. And once again, as awesome as it is, and obviously there's a few times where Belle actually does surprise Eyes. He's leveling up hard. But to be fair, he's in the middle of everything in this town. So not only is he leveling up by getting, beaten up in the dungeon a lot, he's also leveling up because he's getting beaten up in the city a lot. This is a lose-lose situation that he's actually turned into a good thing. So they're trading blows. And obviously Eyes has the upper hand. And eventually she doesn't defeat him per se, but he is defeated. He's on the ground and he's backed up. And that's when Wiene jumps down and is just bam, arms out, does the whole stop routine. And this is where it gets really interesting. So Belle and Eyes have been having this back and forth about the monsters. And here comes Wiene, and now she can talk. And obviously Eyes was very much not prepared for this. And she's just kind of still okay, monsters is monsters. I know it sucks, but you're going to have to die. I really wasn't prepared for this today. I don't want you to be talking, but yeah. She even says, she's Winnie's I want to stay with Belle. And she's your claws are going to hurt people. Your wing is going to terrify people. And if that red gem is lost again, you're going to go on a rampage and you're going to kill people. And the moment in the episode that actually made me tear up, probably more than anything ever in this series, or even many series I've watched, she grabs the claws on her hands and just breaks them off. And and now instead of before in the beginning of the episode, they kind of file them down into fingernails, she just snaps them off into bloody stubs. And even Eyes is okay. Like, the look on her face was like, that was an unexpected result. So she snaps off both, like, sets of claws on her hands. And then, of all the most disturbing things imaginable, grabs the wing and begins to slowly tear it out of her flesh. So, this is like a mix of holy crap imagery and, like, holy crap emotional, like, this is how serious she is. Like, this is a side of her we never, I don't think, expected to see. Her, like, this is a level of character growth that is just insane. And to think, like, you could just pass this off as, oh, it's just a gut reaction or whatever, but you have to remember, like, she's tearing a limb off of her body. This is the equivalent of ripping your fingernails out and then tearing your arm off just to prove a point. Like, that is, it hit me, like, in a very emotional way, because obviously the goal here is to be seen in a more humanitarian way. But even eyes, like you see it in her face, like, she's just shocked, like, oh, okay, that wasn't how I saw this going down. And, you know, I was wondering how these showdowns were going to end, because I have not caught up in the light novels. I'm really kind of glad I didn't, because to get this naturally in the episode, I think was impactful enough for as a content creator to come to you guys and to be able to make a big deal out of this. I think this, personally, I won't say the light novels probably will hit a little bit differently, but to see it in the episode, to bring you guys my natural, honest to goodness reaction, like, this shocked me to the core. This was really insane. And, I mean, I can't say enough about this. It was so, like, there are those moments when you're watching, you know, a show, and every once in a while there's that one that just, like, shatters your whole world, where you're like, I didn't expect that. I can think of maybe a handful of those situations. This is going to be, like, right up there with those. So, Eyes throws a healing potion and is just kind of like, yeah, I'm going to just go reevaluate my everything. And kind of just buggers off. And obviously then Wiene is healed, and it's her exact words, I can no longer kill her, is pretty much, like, her thing. Like, obviously now Eyes has a level of respect for Wiene. So it's just like, that's absolutely insane. Just to go to that extent. It was absolutely insane. So the next exchange we've got now is we've got all the Xenos going through the dungeon halls, and they even say, like, you know, they got the key to Knossos from, they said, quote, the Black Minotaur. And Belle's like, what now? See, they're really building this up, and I think that's going to be something really interesting to see in the next episode. But neither here nor there. This is the part where, if you have not watched the episode, stop right now. 100%. If you've not watched the episode, did you not watch the post-credit scene? I know there's not usually one, but there is one in this episode. If you've not watched the post-credit scene, stop now, pause the video, go watch the close-credit scene, come back, because this is one of the most intense spoilers in this entire show. All right? You've had your warning. Let's get into it. So the final, like, scene of this obviously is the Xenos are heading towards the west door. Okay? And Belle and a few of the others that caught up with him and Lily, they're headed towards a different door. And that's when they're like, we got the key from the Black Minotaur. Obviously, they're talking about Asterios. And they're heading towards their door. But the other group is actually heading towards the western door that they had known about. There's this really cute moment between Belle and Wiene where they do, like, this pinky swear that they're going to meet again and blah, blah, blah. Here's what's insane. So everybody's kind of led down their paths, and you're like, okay, cool. Everybody's going to get to their exits. This is going to be great. And right before the credits scene, the book, the Dianellis book, like you see a page start to like disintegrate almost. Like Hestia drops it as she picks it up, and she's like freaking out because the page is like almost disintegrating. And then you just see a whole other text, like something we hadn't seen in there before. It's weird. And I was thinking to myself, like, what is this? So we get to the post-credit scene. And this, so if you remember back at the beginning of the episode, this was foreshadowed. This was foreshadowed like a lot. In the beginning of the series, I believe it was Aranos even mentions to Hestia or somebody about how neutral Hermes is. And, you know, there's been a lot of foreshadowing that Hermes is, you know, just kind of out for himself as much as he's like, you know, helps all these other people out. He's as much in it for himself, obviously. And this is when the Xenos with Fells get to the western door, or what's supposed to be the western door. They're like, there's no door here. And Hermes walks out of a corner and he's like, yeah, may have faked it. And there's not a door here. By the way, I need you all to just kind of die. And that's the end of the episode. That moment. Like, this is a big betrayal moment. A huge, like, can you imagine? Like, this person that's basically been Belle's wingman this entire series is now, like, basically betraying everything they stand for. This is absolutely nuts. Man, I'm looking forward to the next episode. I am so looking forward to the next episode. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. I'm really, really hyped for this. Yeah, that's all I can really say, guys. That is the video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section down below. Like, comment, and share. Definitely put... If you guys are hyped for the next episode, I know everybody's hyped for the next episode. We always say do this. Put EP12 hype in the comments section if you're hyped. Hashtag EP12 hype. I'm going to always hashtag it in the video titles. I believe the next episode's the last one, so we should expect the next one to be as wild, if not maybe even more so than this one. I'll be back next week. I'll see y'all there. This is going to be a ton of stress and fun.